Mercy Hospital announces that they are caring for the highest number of COVID-19 patients in weeks. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with the strain that this has placed on the hospital and how they say it's affected their procedures.
Plus, Oklahoma's governor announces a new plan to ease the teacher shortage in the state.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. Pittsburgh voters today decided the fate of a $16.5 million school bond. Voters approved the bond overwhelmingly. 912 yes, 222 no. The bond will fund renovations and improvements to the Pittsburgh Middle School, including remodeling classrooms, adding a modern science laboratory, adding an elevator for ADA compliance, and renovating the school's auditorium. The bond will continue the current mill levy through 2045. It's been a nice day. Changes are coming. Doug Heddy.
We do. We have another Arctic blast, which is going to start to affect us as we go into the daytime hours for us tomorrow. Today was great. We had plenty of sunshine during the first half of the day, some clouds during the second half, but 61. Started at 42, normal high is 45 degrees for this time of the year. Clouds are starting to thicken up. Our next little wave out across the four corners will start to affect us as we go through the next 24 hours. Temperatures overall not bad. Most of us mid to upper 40s to near 50 degrees, but we're really going to drop off over the next day or so. Look at the Arctic air building to our north. So we're going to break this down, all coming up here in just a bit.
See you then. Area hospitals are seeing an increase in COVID patients, and Mercy Hospital in Joplin says while it's manageable for the time being, it's caused them to change some of their hospital procedures. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has details.
Joplin hospitals are once again experiencing a spike in COVID-19 cases. At Mercy Hospital, they're reporting the most they've seen in weeks.
Shortly after the holidays, we saw a little bit of a creep, obviously, since the holidays. The 2-week incubation period on this has obviously hit us last week and then into this week. We expect the peak to hit over the next week or two is what our projection models show.
Michael Herr with Mercy says they are seeing less severe illness amid the Omicron variant, but it's not time for folks to let down their guard just yet. Yes, they have been able to manage so far.
What we're seeing is folks obviously being admitted with COVID-19 are a little more stable when they're being admitted at the point of admission. And so we're able to manage it a little bit better from a medical standpoint, which is nice for us. Despite
being manageable, the fact that cases are rising remains a concern.
It's still concerning for us. It's still very much real for the facility and the community. We still want the attention to be out there, and we want obviously all the measures that we're asking to be in place to still be in place in order to protect not only our coworkers, but most importantly, our patients.
Measures like having all Mercy employees and patients in medical grade masks instead of cloth masks.
All of our employees are in level 2, level 3 medical grade masks. We're asking all our employees to come out of cloth masks, which has happened. So that's really out of abundance of caution and then out of the recommendation of the CDC. Guidance that we're following.
And with 9 out of their 62 patients being fully vaccinated, Herr stresses the importance of being vaccinated to protect yourself from serious illness due to COVID-19. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Mercy currently has 62 COVID-19 patients, with 61 of those in Joplin, 1 in Carthage. 8 of those patients are on ventilators. Freeman reports 10 COVID patients in their ICU, 22 in their medical COVID unit, 9 in other areas of the hospital with a negative pressure unit, 3 on ventilators, 3 patients in Neosho. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment says contact tracing has become futile and they're ending the practice next month. They say it's futile because of increased COVID-19 cases and the public's declining interest in participating. The change means people who test positive for the virus will be responsible for notifying their close contacts themselves about possible exposure. If the person has been exposed at high-risk settings, such as schools or daycares, state or local health departments will notify the setting, which will then be responsible for notifying close contacts about the potential exposure. The change takes effect on February 1st. Thousands of children are feeling the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, with some losing a primary or secondary caregiver due to the virus. Reporter Gillian Turner takes a look.
The NIH reports over 140,000 children in America have lost a parent or primary caregiver to COVID. That's roughly 1 in every 450 children, and other groups say the number's even higher. 70% of children who've lost parents during the pandemic are just 13 or younger. That parental death toll is now prompting experts to warn America's kids are suffering an ongoing secondary tragedy caused by COVID. Doctors say the resulting trauma in kids is unlike anything they've dealt with before.
You can't focus on geometry or multiplication tables when you're worried that mom or dad might not be alive when you get home after school.
The impact of losing parents can include anxiety, depression, PTSD, substance abuse, academic decline and school dropout, and worse.
Even cases of suicidal ideation where the child doesn't want to live anymore. They want to be in heaven with mommy or daddy. We're trying our best to be here for families, particularly those where the children are just, in shock or devastated.
A large share of the burden is falling to schools, where teachers and counselors are helping students recover academically and psychologically. But the president of the Children's Hospital Association says it takes a village.
I think it's important to watch kids as they go back out into the community, when they return to school, when they return to normal activities.
Experts insist the effects of all this trauma will be with us for a long time.
It's going to take all of us working together to make sure our kids come out on the other end of this in really good shape. And that's not going to be just next year. That's going to be 5 years from now or 10 years.
While kids themselves are far less likely than adults to die from COVID, infection still carries significant risks for them. The CDC recently reported American kids and teens under 18 who had COVID are 2.5 times likelier to develop diabetes later on. In Washington, Gillian Turner, Fox News.
Employees at Oklahoma state agencies will be authorized to substitute teach at schools across the state, part of an executive order issued by Governor Kevin Stitt. The announcement comes as many Oklahoma schools have been unable to staff classrooms adequately for in-person learning. Rising COVID-19 cases forced most major school districts to close their doors. While many schools in Oklahoma were open today, others were sticking to just virtual learning.
Students, they deserve and they need that right for in-person education. The state has a responsibility to ensure that those students do have that right, and that remains intact, that they have in-person learning options.
In his news conference, Stitt urged all Oklahomans to do what they can to help school districts in their area. There's apparently a lot to learn about corn, and for area farmers, the K-State Extension Office today provided the school in Parsons, Kansas. Kansas Corn School covers issues facing corn producers, tailored to each region, things such as weed control and insect resistance.
Fuel our regular light-duty cars and trucks out there, but also really looking at how ethanol and other biofuels can play a role in long-road trucking and diesel engines. And then that next frontier we really see is aviation fuel, actually made from our corn and soybean products.
Indeed, that is a potential next market, biofuel for aircraft. The Ymca is offering free groceries to families in Neosho and Seneca. The organization hosts a grocery grab at King Food Saver in Neosho every Wednesday, and on Tuesdays they host it at G&W Foods in Seneca. The program provides food for kids ages 2 through 18. Kids receiving the food must be enrolled in school or an educational program to qualify.
Whenever you see families come through the line and their smiles and the kids are smiling and like I mentioned before, there's definitely a food desert, right? Food insecurity. And when you're able to provide a service like this and decrease that security, then families are a little bit more well.
Every grocery bag distributed will contain enough food for a child to have dinner and a snack every day for 7 days. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another four-state hero. Lyle Henderson served in the U.S. Marine Corps stationed in Afghanistan. And we are proud to thank Lyle Henderson, a native of Chanute, Kansas, and tonight's four-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Frontenac boys climb into the top 5 in the state basketball rankings. We'll have details in sports.
Definitely turned out to be a nice Tuesday for us today. Temperatures lower 60s, which is hard to beat in January. And we had quite a bit of sunshine. It was windy, a lot of sunshine through the morning hours. And then we started to get some clouds in here, especially during the afternoon. But overall, pretty good. Temperatures still not bad. We're sitting upper 40s to near 50. Look at the Arctic air building to our north across the northern parts of the plains. It's still, it's about 10 degrees cooler in KC, about 20 degrees cooler in Lincoln, and then you hit that Arctic air, and that Arctic air is going to slide in as we go through the next day or so. Southerly winds keeping our temperatures up for us today. Kind of windy throughout the day, but these winds will switch back out of the north by the time we head into the morning hours. 48, that's where we stand. Still south wind. Humidity is at 74%, pressure is rising 29.93 inches of mercury. And as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight, our temperatures will drop back upper 30s for overnight lows. But the problem is we're not going to go back up. We're just going to go down as we go through the daytime hours tomorrow. A lot of clouds streaming through. There's nothing underneath the clouds. This next little system just doesn't have much in the way of moisture to work with, but we do have this cold front just to our north, a little area of low pressure down through Oklahoma. So these two will kind of combine, but again, you can see not much moisture. We're just really going to tap into that colder air on the backside by the time we head into tomorrow. The main upper level wave is pulling out across parts of New Mexico. Again, a very weak system. The main story here is it's going to get colder. Let's go through time. So after midnight, after 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, some light showers, especially south of Interstate 44, north of I-44, not really anything going on. Let's go into the early morning hours. Showers sink south. Temperatures drop into the 30s. Let's go through the morning hours. You see some pink starting to pop up in our southern counties. This is mainly Delaware County, southern Newton, McDonald, Berry County, Benton County. A little bit of light sleet. Temperatures continue to drop into the 20s. Let's go into the afternoon. A little bit of snow mixes in, again, in our southern counties, and then any snow will rotate out, but our temperatures just go the wrong direction all day long. Starting upper 30s, 29 by noon, down to 26 by 3 p.m. Plus, it's going to be breezy. We're going to have north winds at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Temperature drops near 10 tomorrow night. We pretty much clear out, and then we just struggle to warm up on Thursday. We're going to stay in the 20s during the daytime hours. All right, so a little bit of sleet, a little bit of snow in our southern counties. Not a big deal. Dusting pretty much at max. I don't think there's really going to be any issues on the roadways. And again, this is going to stay in our southern counties. Now, one thing that's going to stink is going to be the wind chills. By tomorrow afternoon, it's going to feel like about 10. By tomorrow night, we drop 0 to minus 5 degrees. So 20s tomorrow down to 11. Only 27 on Thursday. Only 38 on Friday, but we do get back into the 40s by the weekend.
Wow, that's quite a bounce down and then back up.
It is. It really is.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, I'll look at some of the issues Afghan evacuees are dealing with as they try to make a new life in the U.S. Lawmakers investigating the Capitol insurrection today subpoenaed Donald Trump ally Rudy Giuliani and 3 other people. Giuliani was a central figure in the former president's failed attempt to overturn the 2020 election on the basis of voter fraud. In addition to Giuliani, the January 6th Congressional Select Committee wants to hear from Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell. The 2 attorneys were among those who pushed various election fraud conspiracies. It's not been easy for some of the 124,000 Afghan evacuees who the U.S. government flew out of Afghanistan in August. Some are facing bureaucratic barriers, lack of government papers and documentation, and delayed Social Security numbers. Reporter Jennifer Griffin has more from the Pentagon.
Abdullah Ramatzada worked as a driver at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. He took this photo the day he was evacuated in August. He and his pregnant wife made it onto one of the last military flights and eventually to Charlotte, North Carolina, where he has been living with about 50 Afghan families in a motel.
It's some supermarket. Its name is Restiter.
Unlike most of the 124,000 Afghans airlifted out of Kabul, Abdullah has received a Social Security number. He's one of the lucky ones.
They've been sitting in hotel rooms or Airbnbs for months on end, just simply waiting for that card to come in that says they're allowed to work.
Sean Kildane of Save Our Allies, a group formed by U.S. veterans last August, says unless Congress acts, these Afghans will fail.
Agencies that handle those programs are overwhelmed and unable to support those needs. And so many Afghans, unfortunately, are falling through the cracks.
On December 6, Abdullah's wife went into labor and he called 911. His baby was born with a club foot and the government-funded resettlement agency could not help. Save Our Allies got him an appointment at a children's hospital in Greenville, South Carolina. The U.S. government only commits to providing support for the evacuees for 90 days. It provides $1,225 per evacuee. They also loan them the money to fly to their final destination. That money needs to be paid back. Nick Palmisciano, another veteran, described the case of an Afghan combat translator named Johnny, who Fox News has followed on his journey to North Carolina. He was evacuated with his wife and 3 children.
He has had his work visa lost in the mail twice. If we did not provide financial support, if we weren't looking out for him, he literally would be on the street with no means of feeding his family. Do we want them to become successful, productive members of American society?
The Defense Department has announced that it wants all of the evacuees off U.S. bases and resettled by February 15th. Veterans groups are urging Congress to act to give them a temporary status and permission to work. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Still ahead, the TSA says it found a record number of guns at airport checkpoints last year. AT&T and Verizon say they're delaying their 5G rollout on some towers around airports. AT&T has said all other towers will be deployed as scheduled tomorrow. This comes after CEOs from 10 airlines asked the Biden administration to intervene in the already delayed rollout. Airlines estimate 1,000 flight disruptions per day because of possible interference with radar altimeters the pilots use to land in low visibility conditions. But the telecommunications industry has said that these fears are unfounded and that there have not been problems in other countries with 5G. The TSA says 6,000 guns were found at checkpoints nationwide, beating the 2019 record by more than 1,500. Errol Barnett reports.
About 86% of those firearms are loaded, and that presents a significant both safety and security concern.
TSA Administrator David Pekoski is worried about the record increase in guns discovered at checkpoints last year, even as travel remained below pre-pandemic levels.
What's causing it, I don't know exactly, but generally I think our weapons carriage detections reflect just more people carrying weapons in the country.
Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson was at the top of the TSA's list. 507 firearms were detected in 2021, up from 323 in 2019. And this was the scene after a gun was found by a TSA officer last November when the suspect reached in and accidentally discharged his weapon, causing chaos at the world's busiest airport.
That illustrates why loaded weapons are so dangerous, because it's very easy to discharge those weapons.
Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, and Nashville round out the top 5. Passengers can travel with the gun on an aircraft, but only safely and securely as checked luggage. Pekoski warns carrying a gun through a checkpoint will cost you.
Know that if you do have a weapon and it's detected in the checkpoint, it's first going to take you a lot more time. Secondly, there might be local law enforcement action. And third, we will follow up with a civil penalty action.
And that fine is nearly $14,000 in addition to whatever charges local police will bring, and you'll lose your TSA pre-check. All of that pretty costly for something that's absolutely preventable. And by the way, here at Reagan National, 30 guns were intercepted by TSA at the security checkpoint here last year.
The National Shooting Sports Foundation says in 2020, more than 8.4 million people bought a gun for the first time. That same year, a record 21 million background checks were conducted compared to 13.2 million in 2019. Going to get another story about Girl Scout cookies. Tonight's question, what is the most searched Girl Scout cookie? According to Google, Thin Mints are the most searched Girl Scout cookie of all time in the U.S. The tech company is seeing a surge of Americans searching Girl Scout cookies near me and order Girl Scout cookies online over the past week, along with does DoorDash deliver Girl Scout cookies? Girl Scouts of America recently revealed it'll offer customers in select areas cookie delivery through DoorDash in addition to the usual sale options. Google says searches for Adventureful's Girl Scout cookies review is a breakout search on the site. Gotta love the Thin Mints. Put them in the freezer, even better. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Area business owners learn how to create and recruit for an apprenticeship program. Crowder College today hosted a conference centered around apprenticeships, not about students finding an apprenticeship, but businesses creating one. A panel of speakers discussed the benefits of an apprenticeship program, how to set one up, and how to recruit for it.
Connect students to these really good jobs, and our industry partners are out there telling us, every day that they need students, they need great people, and we're in a position to help them fill those needs.
Officials say more than 60 area businesses registered to attend that event. Some local Boys and Girls Club members have the chance to get some recognition from the Joplin community. Right now, club members are creating artwork in recognition of influential Black icons, people who worked in science, technology, engineering, and math. Next month, some of that artwork will be displayed in local U.S. Cellular stores, and people will be encouraged to vote for their favorite one.
Not only does it align with, what we do as an organization, in this field, and something that we have continuously invested in and something we're already doing with the Boys and Girls Club, but also it gets them to think a little differently about the contributions of the Black community.
The top 3 vote getters will be announced in March. Joplin theater goers will soon get the chance to check out a production of Driving Miss Daisy. The Joplin Little Theater is performing the 1988 Pulitzer-winning play in February. So, of course, right now they're still rehearsing, and we got a sneak peek and a chance to catch up with the actors. That includes Keenan Cortez, who will play Hoke Colburn.
Well, I tell you what, it was an award-winning movie when Driving Miss Daisy came out. So the role that I'm playing, I think, is a pretty big part. And I just want to do the best I can to entertain our community is the best that I can.
You can catch Driving Miss Daisy at the Joplin Little Theater on February 2nd through the 6th. Preschool is when so much learning starts, and the American College of Cardiology says that should include learning about heart health, too. A new study finds school-based programs teaching healthy habits for diet, exercise, and emotion management can create lasting lifestyle changes, and the programs are most effective at age 4 to 5. Have you ever wondered how your brain keeps you safe when you're sleeping? Well, researchers at the University of Salzburg studied sleeping adults exposed to familiar and unfamiliar voices. And they found only the unfamiliar voices triggered the brain's alert system to wake them. More evidence that while we work, the brain is hard at work while we sleep. Officials in Tonga have released details of the damage caused by the volcanic eruption and tsunami over the weekend. Reporter Anna Eliopoulos has the latest.
Saturday's devastating volcanic eruption and tsunami in Tonga, killing at least 3 people, according to the government's first official update. Among the victims, a 50-year-old British woman who was swept away.
She's beautiful. She was absolutely a ray of sunshine.
The written statement released Tuesday also detailing the loss of homes, including an entire village on Mango Island. On another nearby island, only 2 houses remain. This comes as we're seeing some of the first images of the eruption and aftermath. Satellite photos capturing the main eruption, the massive plume of smoke, could be seen from space, and these before and after images punctuating the extent of the damage. The island's shoreline now covered in ash and vegetation.
The ash is proving quite problematic, not just for water and sanitation, but in terms of access for the aid from Australia and New Zealand and other flights.
Hundreds of volunteers are working to clear the runway to make way for planes bringing aid. Large ships carrying loads of much-needed supplies like water, volunteers, and equipment also making their way to the island. The eruption sent smoke and ash 60,000 feet into the air and triggered tsunami waves in the Pacific. 50-foot high waves rushed inland, destroying everything in their path, knocking out all access to phones and internet, a concern for loved ones who are looking for answers.
The worst fear is the suffering of other people. That's hard to cope with.
In New York, Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Later, new information about some well-known history.
Groundbreaking research shedding new light on what may have led to the capture of Anne Frank. I'm Lauren Blanchard. More on that story straight ahead.
It definitely turned out to be a great Tuesday for us today. Temperature is fantastic. We've been warming up over the past couple days. Look at our highs. Most of us into the upper 50s to lower 60s across the region, almost 18, 20 degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. We have dropped back a bit. It's not bad. Anywhere from 40 in Fort Scott, 43 in Miami. We're at 44 in Anderson. We have dropped into the 30s out on the Kansas side, but our strong cold front hasn't even made it here yet. And eventually colder air is going to start to filter in. You can see it actually starting to slide off toward the south, but where you get the purples and the more whitish color, that is the Arctic air, which is going to be heading toward us. Our third shot that we've had over the past couple weeks. We've had the nice southerly winds all day long, kind of breezy. These winds are going to switch out of the north as we go through the overnight hours. Currently outside, we're sitting at 48. Southerly winds 5 to 10. Relative humidity is at 74%. Unfortunately, we're going to drop into the 30s later on tonight, and then we're just going to keep going south as we go through the daytime hours tomorrow. A lot of clouds kind of filtering in the past couple hours. Nothing underneath the clouds, so we are staying dry. But just to our north, we have that Arctic front, which is sliding south. Here's our weak little wave. You can see there's not much moisture. So the main thing with this next storm system, which will affect us, is going to be the colder air. The main upper level wave out across Arizona and parts of New Mexico. It's very weak. And again, it's not even really going to materialize until it passes through, but we are going to get the cold air. All right, let's go through time. Here's 3 a.m. Some showers start developing, mainly along and south of I-44. At this point in time, our front's going to be right along the I-44 corridor. Colder air is sinking in. As we go into the morning hours, showers south of I-44, our temperatures are dropping into the 30s. Let's go through the morning hours. So this is 10 a.m. Now you start to see some pink. This is light, very light sleet in our southern counties along and south of I-44. At this time, we're dropping into the upper 20s. As we go through the afternoon, a little snow mixes in, again, along and south of I-44, and then any snow will rotate out by tomorrow evening. But our temperatures, they go the wrong way tomorrow. When you wake up, if you're getting up early, 38, 29 by noon, 26 during the afternoon. We're going to have a northerly wind, and that's going to allow it to feel a little bit colder than what it's actually going to be. Temperatures drop near 10 tomorrow night, but with wind chills, it's going to be lower than that. All right, a little bit of light sleet, a little bit of light snow in our southern counties. I'm thinking at best a dusting, mainly with this. Not a big deal at all, but something we'll keep our eyes on. But look at our wind chills. By tomorrow afternoon, near 10. By tomorrow night, below 0 to -5 degrees. So we drop into the 20s tomorrow, only 27 on Thursday. We do bounce back into the 40s by the weekend, but a few cold days in store.
It's going to be odd for people to go off to work and school in the morning and find out it's even colder as they go home.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, we're going to hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid on a playoff rematch with the Buffalo Bills. Plus, the boys bracket gets started at the Southeast Lancer Classic. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
The Erie Red Devils have been one of the best teams in Southeast Kansas to begin the basketball season. Erie is 8-0 to start their schedule, and they made it up to number 7 in the 2A state rankings. Now, the Red Devils playing at the Southeast Lancer Classic tonight, opening with Parsons. The Vikings were on a roll early. Look at the vision here from Joe Page. Beautiful pass to Trey Mack. He finishes and the foul. Then Paxton Swanson steps out and hits the 3. Parsons up 20-11 after 1. And the second, though, here comes Erie. Eric Dillinger working inside. Then right before half, It's a Garrett Ruark knocking down the three. He scores 7 in the quarter. That sends Erie to half up 30-29. Third quarter, huge for the Red Devils. Eric Dillinger on the break. He scores 20. 17-5 third quarter for Erie, puts them up 13. Then in the fourth, more from Ruark. He also adds 20 for the Red Devils. Erie stays perfect and moves on. They beat Parsons 67-55. Earlier in the day, game 1 of the tournament. Tournament hosts Southeast on the floor against McCallie. The Warriors start hot. Michael Paragon cleaning up the miss here. Then Noah Black drives and scores. McCallie scores the first 4 points of the game. Southeast, though, gets hot to end the quarter. Good ball movement here. Ends with Nate Jacobs scoring the easy 2. Then Cade Burdett. Dude just couldn't miss in the first. Corner 3, then another from about the same spot. Also good from the other corner. Lancers go up 6 heading to the second. Burdett scores a game-high 26. In the second quarter, McCallie fights back. Noah Black again. He leads McCallie with 24, but Southeast pulls away in the second half to win it 83-55. Southeast Kansas, Frontenac boys are now in the top 5 in the state rankings. The Raiders are number 5 in the 3A poll. Frontenac is 6-1 and will host the 4-State Raider Classic beginning on Thursday. The Labette County girls and St. Paul girls also moved up in the rankings this week. You can check out all of the local teams in the state rankings on the sports page at KOAMnewsnow.com. The Kansas City Chiefs are in the Final Four in the AFC playoffs. The Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills on Sunday with a chance to move on to the conference championship. Now, these two teams, definitely no strangers. They played each other in the AFC championship game last year, a game that Kansas City won. They also played in the regular season this year. That was a 38-20 Buffalo win back in October. So Kansas City hoping for a little revenge on Sunday so they can keep their hopes alive of tasting a sweet Super Bowl victory for the second time in 3 years.
Well, if you like chocolate cake and you eat a piece and then you have one dangled in front of your face, you're probably going to want to eat that too. Not much is going to stop you. So, I mean, that's how you feel about the Super Bowl. I mean, that's that is the chocolate cake with the ultimate frosting. And then you're going to try to go get it if you can.
Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. This is just informational, all right? If the Chiefs win on Sunday, they move on to the AFC Championship. If the Titans beat the Bengals, the Chiefs will go to Tennessee for the conference championship. If Cincinnati wins that one, Chiefs get a home game against the Bengals for a trip to the Super Bowl. They'll know before they play with that Bengals-Titans game scheduled for 3:30 on Saturday on KOAM. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
The case was cold, but over the last 5 years, researchers have painstakingly pieced together clues they believe help solve the mystery of how Anne Frank's family remained successfully hidden from the Nazis for years, only to be eventually captured. Lauren Blanchard reports on who may have surrendered their location to the Nazis.
The name of Anne Frank is not someone, it's the icon of the Holocaust.
To countless people around the world, Anne Frank resembles resiliency, hope, and compassion, even in the darkest of hours. But behind this extraordinary person lies a great deal of mystery and a dark, cold case. Researchers have wondered how the Nazis were able to find the Franks in their secret hideaway above a warehouse in Amsterdam. Now they may have their answers.
We have investigated over 30 suspects in 20 different scenarios, leaving one scenario.
While they aren't 100% sure, investigators have what they're calling the most likely scenario, identifying a Jewish man by the name of Arnold Vandenberg as their primary suspect, claiming Vandenberg allegedly gave Nazis a list of addresses where Jews were hiding in order to protect his own family from being sent to concentration camps.
I think the information the team came up with, it gives us, again, I would say, insights in ourselves, in what it means to be human under very difficult circumstances.
The team used an anonymous note written to Anne Frank's father after World War II ended, listing Vandenberg as having involvement in Frank's family's capture.
How did fascism creep between the cracks and corrupted every human relationship.
Historians say the findings are impressive, but warn about making serious allegations when researchers themselves claim to not have the full story yet. Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Coming up, a preview of the new season of Servant on Apple TV+. M. Night Shyamalan's Servant is a series full of twists, which he turned into a place for new creatives. So as the show returns this week, we talk with him all about this behind-scenes vision, plus bring you a preview of Season 3 of the cast. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
What is going on? M. Night Shyamalan's mystery Servant returns with Season 3 on Apple TV Plus January 21st. The executive producer again calls on up-and-coming writers and directors to join in this vision.
I guess in some little mini way, this is like a little mini studio Servant where I get to see something anywhere in the world at a film festival. If something's sent to me or I get to see a movie, and if I feel that kind of deep connection to it, I'll call up the filmmaker, talk with him or her, and if I feel like, wow, they're in a great place, I say, hey, will you come to Philly and direct one episode?
He's proud it's a place for unlimited creativity.
I want you to risk yourself. The only problem you and I are going to have is if you play it safe.
Chapter 3 picks up with the Turners attempting a normal day-to-day, but with Leanne, Baby Jericho, and the cult, it's only a matter of time before that unravels.
This is a very new Leanne. There's a lot of paranoia that comes with it. They're fighting over the soul and the love of this child. It's pretty intense.
Cast members do ask questions much like the audience.
I had quite a lot this season because, you know, we had the break because the pandemic hit us in Season 2, and then we started off doing Season 3 pretty quickly after that, and I was like, so wait, so I'm suddenly going to church every day. What is happening?
Answers may not be far off. Servant was renewed for its intended 4th and final season.
Where we're heading, I have no idea. For Season 4, it's kind of anything can happen, and there's something quite exciting about that.
There's a price to pay.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with a video of 43 giant tortoises released into the wild of the Galapagos Islands. Let's make it a great tomorrow.